Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, and let yourself be carried away by a story from the Middle Ages. Welcome to our channel. Tonight, we travel back in time. The stone walls of the scriptorium are thick, holding the coolness of the mountain air long after the sun has begun its slow, rhythmic descent behind the jagged peaks of the horizon. You sit at your heavy oak desk, your posture straight and your movements deliberate, as the world outside the monastery begins to soften into the muted shades of twilight. The room is vast and vaulted, the ceiling lost in a haze of soft shadows, yet your world is small, illuminated by the steady, amber glow of a single beeswax candle that sits at the edge of your workstation. The scent of that candle's sweet, earthy aroma of honey and warm wick mingles with the sharper, metallic tang of iron gall ink, and the faint, dusty smell of aged parchment. Here, the passage of time is not measured by hours or minutes, but by the steady, glacial progress of your quill across the vellum, and the world is quiet, and you are safe within these walls. You reach out a hand, your fingers brushing against the surface of the parchment, which feels both smooth and slightly textured, like the skin of a ripened pear. It is a heavy sheet of calfskin vellum, prepared over many weeks with lime and pumice until it reached this perfect, creamy consistency, ready to hold the weight of sacred words for centuries to come. The parchment is cool to the touch, and as you smooth it down against the slanted surface of your desk, you hear the soft, dry rustle of the skin, a sound like a long-forgotten sigh. You take a deep, slow breath, inhaling the scent of the scriptorium, a scent that speaks of silence and patience, of damp stone and the distant, herbal fragrance of the rosemary and lavender growing in the cloister garden just outside the arched windows. Outside, a gentle evening rain has begun to fall, a fine mist that patters almost imperceptibly against the thick, leaded glass of the windows. The sound is a rhythmic, hypnotic drumming, a soft percussion that anchors you to the present moment while lulling your mind into a state of profound stillness. You can hear the water trickling down the stone gargoyles and splashing softly into the puddles of the courtyard, a wet, repetitive sound that reinforces the solitude of your task. It is a peaceful rain, the kind that settles the dust and brings a deep, emerald greenness to the world. Though from where you sit, the garden is merely a blur of dark shapes and the shimmering reflection of the rising moon. The world is quiet, and the rain is a curtain of silk, and you are tucked away in your stone alcove, where nothing can reach you. You pick up your quill, a sturdy goose feather that has been carefully cured in hot sand and sharpened to a precise, narrow nib. The weight of it is negligible in your hand, a mere extension of your fingers, yet it carries the immense responsibility of the text you are preserving. You dip the nib into the small horn of ink, a dark, viscous liquid that catches the candlelight like a pool of black glass. You watch as the ink clings to the quill, and then you pause, waiting for the single, superfluous drop to fall back into the well. There is no hurry. There is only the ink, and the quill, and the parchment waiting in the golden light. You begin to form a single letter, a capital, S, moving your hand with a slow, sweeping grace that has been honed by years of repetitive practice. The sound of the quill on the parchment is a dry, rhythmic scratching, a small and intimate noise that fills the silence of the scriptorium. A scritch, scritch, scritch. It is the sound of knowledge being anchored to the earth. You watch as the wet ink flows from the nib, a deep, midnight black that stands out in sharp relief against the pale vellum. The ink is shiny at first, reflecting the flame of your candle, before it slowly begins to soak into the fibers of the skin, turning matte and permanent as it dries. You follow the curve of the letter, your breath coming in slow, even measures that match the movement of your hand. The task is meditative, a sequence of tiny, precise gestures that require your entire focus, leaving no room for the worries of the outside world. From the distant chapel, the low, resonant hum of Gregorian chants begins to drift through the vaulted corridors. A sound so faint it is more of a vibration in the stone than a distinct melody. The monks are singing the Vespers, their voices blending into a single, monophonic stream of sound that rises and falls like the tide. The Latin vowels are long and rounded, echoing off the high ceilings and stone floors, creating a blanket of sound that wraps around the scriptorium. It is a grounding sound, a reminder of the continuity of life within these walls, where the same songs have been sung and the same words have been written for hundreds of years. The chants are a heartbeat, slow and steady, and they pulse in time with the flickering of your candle and the falling of the rain. You move your attention now to the illumination at the margin of the page. Beside your inkwell sits a small, shallow dish containing a single leaf of gold, a substance so thin and delicate that the mere act of breathing too heavily would cause it to flutter away like a moth. You pick up a small, fine-tipped brush made of squirrel hair and gently apply a thin layer of fish glue to the parchment, tracing the outline of a twisting vine. You wait, watching the glue turn from a milky white to a clear, tacky sheen. Then, with a steady hand and a held breath, you lift the gold leaf. It is weightless, a shimmering fragment of light. You press it onto the tacky surface, and then, using a smooth agate burnisher, you begin to rub the gold with a gentle, circular motion. The sound of the burnisher on the gold is a soft, rhythmic hushing, like the sound of a distant sea. Hush, hush, hush. As you rub, the gold begins to glow, transforming from a dull yellow to a bright, mirror-like brilliance that seems to hold the very essence of the candle flame. You work slowly, inch by inch, ensuring the gold is perfectly smooth and bonded to the vellum. The repetitive motion is soothing, a physical prayer that calms your spirit and clears your mind. The world is quiet, and the gold is bright, and the work is steady. You are a small part of a long lineage of hands, all doing exactly what you are doing now, finding peace in the slow, careful creation of something beautiful and lasting. As the dusk deepens into night, the shadows in the corners of the scriptorium grow longer and more profound, but your circle of light remains constant. The candle has burned down slightly, a small pool of melted wax forming at its base, which occasionally crackles with a tiny, sharp sound that only emphasizes the surrounding silence. You can hear the distant chime of the monastery bell, a deep, bronze tolling that marks the end of the day as labor. It is a heavy, lingering sound that vibrates in the air long after the strike has ended. You finish the final stroke of your illumination, a tiny dot of vermilion red at the center of a painted flower, and you set your brush down. The room feels cooler now, the stone walls radiating a deep, ancient chill that is offset by the warmth of your woolen habit. You sit for a moment, simply watching the ink dry and the gold shimmer in the fading light. The rain outside has slowed to a rhythmic dripping from the eaves, a sound that is both lonely and comforting. You feel a sense of profound weightiness in your limbs, a tired satisfaction that comes from a day spent in quiet, purposeful work. The world is quiet, the scriptorium is still, and the manuscript is safe. You lean back, your eyes following the dance of the candle flame against the arched ceiling, and you allow the silence to settle over you like a heavy, warm quilt. The day is done, the letters are set, and the stone room remains, holding its peace as the night carries the world into a deep, dreamless sleep. You settle into your familiar wooden seat at the scriptorium desk, the worn oak smooth beneath your palms from decades of scribes who sat here before you. The chair creaks softly as you adjust your position, a gentle sound that belongs to this space as much as the stone walls themselves. Your workbench stretches before you, its surface scattered with the tools of your sacred craft quills arranged by size, ceramic pots of ink in deep black and russet brown, sheets of vellum waiting to receive the words you will transcribe. The world beyond these monastery walls grows dim with evening, but here, surrounded by candlelight and purpose, you are safe and warm. The parchment beneath your fingertips feels cool and slightly textured, each sheet prepared with such care that you can almost sense the hours of labor it required. You run your hand across the surface, feeling the subtle grain of the calfskin, stretched and scraped and treated until it became this perfect canvas for holy words. The edges are straight and true, cut by steady hands in the parchment workshop 2 corridors away. You align the sheet carefully on your desk, positioning it just so in the pool of golden light cast by the beeswax candle at your right hand. The flame barely flickers in the still air of the scriptorium. Everything here is quiet. Everything here is calm. Before you begin the evening's work of transcription, you must first prepare your implements with the same reverence you bring to the copying itself. You reach for a quill from the collection before you, selecting a sturdy goose feather with a graceful curve. The quill rests light as breath in your fingers. You examine the tip, noting where the previous scribe's work has worn the point, and you retrieve your small cutting knife from its resting place. The blade catches the candlelight as you begin the careful process of reshaping the nib. Each tiny cut releases the faintest whisper of sound. A slice. Pause. A slice. Pause. The rhythm becomes a meditation in itself. You trim away the worn portions with patient precision, creating a fresh point that will hold ink and release it in controlled measure onto the waiting parchment. The small curls of quill fall onto your desk like tiny feathers, catching the amber glow. You test the angle of the cut, holding it up to examine the way the candlelight passes through the translucent material. Nearly perfect. One more careful slice, and then you are satisfied. The quill is ready. You set down your knife and feel the smooth wooden handle of the desk beneath your other palm. The world is quiet. The world is still. From somewhere deep within the monastery, the evening chants begin their slow procession through the vaulted corridors. The monks' voices rise and fall in ancient patterns, Latin words shaped by devotion and practice, echoing off stone walls that have absorbed these same sounds for generations. The chant reaches you as something less than music and more than silence, a presence that fills the spaces between your thoughts. You pause in your preparations to simply listen, your hands resting motionless on the desk. The Gregorian melody winds through the darkness like a ribbon of sound, unhurried and eternal. Outside the tall arched window to your left, rain has begun to fall on the monastery grounds. You can hear it pattering against the stone courtyard, a gentle percussion that adds its voice to the evening's symphony. The rain touches the herb garden where rosemary and sage grow in neat beds, where time creeps between the paving stones, where all the green things drink deeply and wait for tomorrow's light. But that is outside, and you are here, safe within these ancient walls, surrounded by the smell of parchment and beeswax and the faint mustiness of old books. You turn your attention now to the ink. The ceramic pot before you holds black ink mixed fresh this morning by Brother Thomas, whose duty it is to prepare the pigments and binding agents. You remove the wooden stopper and immediately smell the earthy, slightly metallic scent of oak gall ink. The liquid inside is dark as a moonless night, thick enough to cling to the quill, but fluid enough to flow. You dip your newly cut quill into the ink, feeling the slight resistance as the nib enters the liquid, watching as the black darkness climbs the shaft through capillary action. When you withdraw the quill, a single drop trembles at the tip before falling back into the pot with the smallest sound. Drip. The surface settles. All is calm. Before you begin writing, you test the quill on a scrap of parchment kept for this purpose. The first stroke is always a greeting between pen and page, a moment of introduction. You draw a simple line, watching the ink flow from the nib, seeing how it spreads on the parchment's surface. The line is clean and sure. The quill is properly cut. The ink is the right consistency. You draw another line, and another, feeling the slight scratch of the nib against the vellum, hearing that distinctive sound that is the heartbeat of the scriptorium. A scratch. Pause. A scratch. Pause. Each mark a small act of preservation. The candle flame beside you burns, steady and true, its light falling across your workspace in a circle of warmth. You can feel the slight heat of it near your right hand, can smell the sweet scent of beeswax mixing with the other fragrances of this sacred space. The stone walls keep the scriptorium cool despite the candles, and you are grateful for the woolen robe that drapes around your shoulders. You are comfortable here. You are home here. You position your hand above the fresh parchment, quill poised and ready. The evening stretches before you, filled with letters to form and words to preserve. The rain continues its gentle song against the courtyard stones. The distant chant echoes and fades and echoes again. And here, in this moment of perfect stillness, you lower your quill to begin the sacred work. The world is quiet. All is well. The scent of rain-washed herbs drifts through the open archway sage, and lavender from the cloister garden. A single, drowsy bee hums against the window pane, its wings catching the soft light. The vellum beneath your hand is cool and smooth, a field awaiting the first fur of ink. You breathe in, matching the rhythm of the distant chant, and feel a deep, abiding calm settle within your bones. The work is a meditation, a quiet joy. The day has settled into evening, the world is quiet, and you are safe and warm in the scriptorium. The stone walls, cool and unyielding, embrace you as you sit at your desk, bathed in the soft, amber glow of candlelight. The air is thick with the scent of beeswax and parchment, the faintest hint of ink lingering beneath. You dip your quill into the pot of ink, the dark liquid clinging to the feathers, and begin again, the rhythmic scratch of the nib on parchment, a comforting metronome in the stillness. Outside, the rain falls gently, a soft susurrus against the stone courtyard, the glass of the arched windows. The sound is a lullaby, a gentle rhythm that blends seamlessly with the distant echo of Gregorian chants, wafting through the vaulted corridors like incense. The bells of the monastery have long since tolled the hour, their deep, resonant tones now a distant memory, replaced by the quiet hum of the scriptorium. You carefully guide your quill across the page, the letters forming beneath your hand like blossoms in spring. Each stroke is deliberate, each curve and line a careful dance of ink and parchment. The words you inscribe are sacred, the knowledge they contain precious, and your task is a holy one, a preservation of wisdom for generations to come. The parchment is smooth beneath your fingers, the surface slightly rough, whispering softly as you turn the page, the sound a soft rustle in the quiet. The candlelight flickers, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls, the warm glow reflecting off the gold leaf you have so carefully applied to the margins of the manuscript. The gold is a luxury, a shimmering testament to the importance of the words you illuminate. You watch as the light catches the leaf, the golden hue blending with the amber glow of the candle, a soft, warm dance of light and shadow. The scent of the pigments you have mixed earlier still lingers in the air, a faint, earthy aroma beneath the wax and parchment. The colors are vibrant, a riot of hues that stand out starkly against the pale parchment. You dip your brush into the vermilion, the rich red spreading across the bristles, and carefully outline the initial letter of the page. The brush strokes are delicate, each one a careful dance of color and line, a testament to your skill and patience. The quiet is peaceful, a blanket of calm that settles over you as you work. The only sounds are the soft scratch of your quill, the gentle rustle of parchment, the distant chants, and the soft patter of rain. The world outside is a blur, a soft, indistinct hum beneath the quiet hum of your own breath, the steady beat of your heart. You lean back in your chair, the wood creaking softly beneath your weight. Your back is straight, your posture perfect, a result of years of practice, of hours spent bent over manuscripts, illuminating words, preserving knowledge. You flex your fingers, the muscles in your hand aching slightly from the exertion, the tendons protesting the unnatural position. You reach for your cup of ale, the liquid cool and crisp against your tongue. The brew is simple, a monastery ale, the taste of familiar comfort. You take a sip, the liquid sliding down your throat, the slight bitterness a counterpoint to the sweetness of the honey you added. The cup is earthenware, the surface rough beneath your fingers, the feel familiar and comforting. The candle burns low, the wax pooling beneath the wick, the flame flickering softly in the draft. You reach for the tinderbox, the striking of flint on steel a sharp sound in the quiet. The spark catches the wick of the new candle, the flame catching, the light growing, the glow spreading. The old candle is extinguished, the smoke curling up towards the vaulted ceiling, the scent of burnt wax mingling with the other aromas of the scriptorium. You return to your work, the quills scratching softly against the parchment. The letters form beneath your hand, the words taking shape, the manuscript growing, one page at a time. The rain continues to fall outside, the sound a soft, steady rhythm that blends with the quiet hum of the scriptorium. The world is quiet, peaceful, and you are safe and warm, lost in the meditative dance of ink and parchment, of light and shadow, of sound and silence. The day fades into night, the candle burns low, and you continue to work, one careful letter at a time, preserving knowledge, illuminating words, lost in the quiet hum of the scriptorium, the steady beat of your own heart. Outside the narrow, lancet windows, the indigo sky deepens into a velvet shroud, stitched with the first faint glimmer of ancient stars. The world beyond the abbey walls has fallen into a hushed stillness, where even the wind seems to pause in reverence. The candle flame beside you wavers gently, casting amber shadows that dance across the vellum page before you. Your quill moves with practiced grace, each stroke of ink a small meditation, a prayer made visible in careful letters. The scriptorium grows quieter still as your fellow scribes complete their work, one by one setting down their implements with soft, deliberate movements. Brother Thomas closes his inkwell with a faint click. Sister Margaret covers her manuscript with a clean linen cloth, her weathered hands smoothing the fabric with tender care. The scrape of wooden stools against stone floor whispers through the chamber as they rise, offering you gentle nods of farewell before departing. Now you are alone with the settling silence, the cooling wax, the lingering scent of oak gall and iron. Your shoulders ease downward, releasing the careful tension of concentration. You flex your fingers slowly, watching the ink stains that mark them like badges of devotion. Through the window, an owl calls, a low, melodious question to the gathering night. You set your quill in its rest and lean back, allowing your eyes to close for just a moment. The stone walls around you hold centuries of prayer, of quiet labor, of countless souls who sat just as you sit now, adding their small light to the great illumination of knowledge. Your breathing deepens, matching the ancient rhythm of this sacred place, where time moves like honey and peace settles soft as monastery snow. The worn stone holds the sun's last warmth. A single, slow-moving bee hums a drowsy hymn against the glass. You sit at your wooden desk, the surface worn smooth by decades, perhaps centuries of diligent use. The scriptorium is quiet, the world is quiet, and you are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of candlelight. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. You can hear the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment, the gentle rustle of pages turning, the distant echo of Gregorian chants drifting through the stone corridors. Outside, the rain falls softly, a gentle patter on the cobblestones and against the arched windows, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass. Your hands move steadily, rhythmically, each stroke of the quill a careful dance across the parchment. You are illuminating a new manuscript, a sacred text that will bear your mark, your patience, your devotion. The ink flows smoothly from the quill, a deep, rich black that contrasts with the soft, cream-colored parchment. You work line by line, letter by letter, each mark precise and deliberate. The parchment is smooth beneath your fingers, the edges slightly rough where it has been cut, the surface cool and unyielding. You dip the quill into the ink pot, the liquid dark and glossy, the consistency thick and even. You allow the excess to drip back into the pot, the plop soft and barely audible in the quiet scriptorium. The quill is light in your hand, the feathers worn smooth from use, the nib sharp and ready. You guide it across the parchment, the scratch of the quill a steady, soothing sound, a metronome marking the passage of time. You are careful, methodical, your focus unwavering. The text is sacred, the work important. You are preserving knowledge, one careful letter at a time. The candle flickers, the flame steady and warm, the wax melting slowly, the pool of liquid gold spreading evenly. The light dances across the parchment, casting soft shadows, highlighting the delicate strokes of your quill. The scent of burning beeswax is faint but steady, a comforting, familiar aroma that blends seamlessly with the other scents of the scriptorium. The rain continues to fall, the sound a gentle, rhythmic backdrop to your work. The droplets trace paths down the windows, the glass cool and smooth beneath your fingertips as you reach out to touch it. The stone walls of the scriptorium are cool and solid, the surface rough and uneven beneath your hand. The corridor beyond is dimly lit, the shadows long and deep, the only sound the soft, echoing footsteps of a passing monk, the distant tolling of the monastery bells. You turn the page, the parchment soft and pliable beneath your fingers. The edge is slightly curled, the surface smooth and unblemished. You smooth it out with your hand, the action practiced and familiar. The quill scratches softly, the ink flowing smoothly, the letters forming slowly, deliberately. The text is sacred, the work important. You are preserving knowledge, one careful letter at a time. The candle burns steadily, the flame casting a warm, golden glow across the scriptorium. The light dances across the parchment, highlighting the delicate strokes of your quill. The scent of burning beeswax is faint but steady, a comforting, familiar aroma that blends seamlessly with the other scents of the scriptorium. The rain continues to fall, the sound a gentle, rhythmic backdrop to your work. The droplets trace paths down the windows, the glass cool and smooth beneath your fingertips as you reach out to touch it. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You work steadily, methodically, each stroke of the quill a careful dance across the parchment. The ink flows smoothly, the letters forming slowly, deliberately. The text is sacred, the work important. You are preserving knowledge, one careful letter at a time. The candle flickers, the flame steady and warm, the wax melting slowly, the pool of liquid gold spreading evenly. The light dances across the parchment, casting soft shadows, highlighting the delicate strokes of your quill. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You are a scribe, a keeper of knowledge, a preserver of history. Your work is important, your dedication unwavering. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You work steadily, methodically, each stroke of the quill a careful dance across the parchment. The ink flows smoothly, the letters forming slowly, deliberately. The text is sacred, the work important. You are preserving knowledge, one careful letter at a time. The candle flickers, the flame steady and warm, the wax melting slowly, the pool of liquid gold spreading evenly. The light dances across the parchment, casting soft shadows, highlighting the delicate strokes of your quill. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You are a scribe, a keeper of knowledge, a preserver of history. Your work is important, your dedication unwavering. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden beyond. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You work steadily, methodically, each stroke of the quill a careful dance across the parchment. The ink flows smoothly, the letters forming slowly, deliberately. The text is sacred, the work important. You are preserving knowledge, one careful letter at a time. The candle flickers, the flame steady and warm, the wax melting slowly, the pool of liquid gold spreading evenly. The light dances across the parchment, casting soft shadows, highlighting the delicate strokes of your quill. The world is quiet, the scriptorium still. The only sound the soft, steady scratch of quills on parchment. The air is cool and still, carrying with it the faint scent of old parchment and beeswax, the faintest hint of ink and dried herbs from the garden. You are safe and warm in the dim, amber glow of the candlelight. The rain falls softly, the droplets tracing lazy paths down the ancient glass, the sound a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that soothes and comforts. You sit at the broad wooden desk beneath the high, arched window, the stone cool under your forearms and the grain of the table rubbed smooth by years of careful palms. And you feel the feather of the quill in your fingers, stiff with cut and trimmed to the familiar angle, its hollow shaft holding a measure of ink that will be released in a slow, precise line. The smell of iron and oak gall rising from the black well each time you bend to dip, the sound of pen on parchment a steady. Lace-like scratch that fills the warm air like a measured breathing. And through the moment glass you see the raindrops slide down the cool panes into beads that catch the candlelight. The wet scent of the herb garden rising faintly of rosemary and thyme. The distant chant like a low river running through stone. And you work in the same slow rhythm, safe and warm. The world is quiet. Your hand moves in the same careful fashion, the quills scraping and releasing, the nib biting and yielding, the tactile give of vellum under the tip soft and exacting, with the slight tooth that takes ink and holds it. And when you pause, you run the pad of your thumb across the edge of a leaf to smooth the page, feeling the tiny fibers and the warmth left there like an imprint, smelling the metallic tang of gold leaf glue, and the oily perfume of the lamp oil that keeps your work lit. Hearing the candle wick sigh and crackle, the monks' voices walking like distant birds along the vaulted roof, and you repeat the motion, dipping, drawing, smoothing, pressing the gold foil to the brown adhesive until a minute, gleaming sun appears in a margin, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You mix pigments in a slow, ceremonial way, grinding ochre and lapis against stone. The mortar cool and rough beneath your palm. The powdered color smelling of chalk and the sea and clay. The motion a small ritual, circles and back again. Watching the fine dust rise like a slow breath and settle. Hearing only the muted rhythm of the pestle. The irregular drip of rain outside. The soft turning of a page message from a neighbor's desk that travels across the room in a hush. And each time you lift the quill to the little glass of oil mixed with gum, the tip is loaded and a new stroke begins, a practiced medicinal repetition that comforts as it passes, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You gild letters with the same patience, laying down gesso, listening to your fingertip press and the faint squeak of sentiment on the page, the tack of the ground catching the leaf in a delicate hold, the gold whispering as you burnish it with a smooth agate that glides and leaves a faint scent of beeswax on your palm, the scent sweet and domestic and old, as if summers stored in combs were being released. While the chapel bell far off marks the slow hours, and the rain threads the courtyards with silver and the herbs open their wet leaves to the sky. And you apply the same motion again, that gliding, that pressure, again and again, a motion like a prayer, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You scrape the edge of an imperfect folio with your knife, feeling the resistance of vellum beneath the steel, smelling the faint animal tinge of the page as you shave away a ridge, the metallic whisper of blade on skinless hide resonant and small. The quill paused beside it, the scratch of another's hand in a neighboring stall continuing like a slow metronome. And when you smooth the letter with pumice, you feel the grit under finger and smell the neutral dust lifting and taste, briefly. The coolness of the stone window on your lip, the rain a soft percussion on the outer roof, the corridor's footsteps receding and returning like low tide. And you scrape and smooth and scrape, the same small act, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You turn pages with the practiced gentleness of one who handles memory, sliding a finger beneath a lower corner, the vellum cool and springy, the scent of ink and age, and the faint musk of pressed, herbs that someone once tucked between two quires, the whisper of parchment moving a tender, papery sound, and the chant from the cloister threads through, wordless and long, as if the stones themselves were singing, while outside the garden's leaves bead and release rain, and the evening air carries the faint, sweet sharpness of basil and sage, and you set another sheet down and begin to copy again, marking letter after letter, stroke by stroke, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You clean the nib when the line grows thick, rasping it across the folded linen at your wrist, feeling the slight scratch and the oily smear on the cloth, smelling the linen warmed by your skin, and the faint resin of dried wood where the vellum laps, hearing the distant closing of a heavy door and the slow footfall of a porter passing in the corridor, the candle's tiny hearth top adding a private, domestic note to the room, and you resume, the quill finding its old groove. The sound of ink resuming upon page as though a river found its bed again. And you work, and you wipe, and you work again, mindful of each small repetition, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You watch the way the light pools on a finished folio, the gold catching the flames in a quiet wink, the surface warm beneath your fingertips, the smell of beeswax and smoke a companion to your labor, the rain sounding like distant counting beads, the chant a steady undertow through the stones, and you fold a page once more with slow certainty, feeling the line of the piece and hearing the soft, satisfied sigh of paper bedding into itself, and you set the finished leaf aside to rest among others. A small stack of patient pages that will sit, cool and dry, smelling faintly of gum and lamp oil and the damp herbs beyond the window, and you breathe out the same slow breath you have breathed for hours, safe and warm. The world is quiet. You remain, hour after measured hour, the candle lowering and the scent of wax thickening, the quill in your hand setting out the same shapes, the same careful strokes in the same long sentence of work that curls and curls like smooth, the stone under your elbow steady and cool, the ink well ever patient and black and waiting, the rain a soft and unhurried curtain that washes the courtyard, the distant bells counting the night with different and you carry on, slowly illuminating, slowly preserving, repeatedly pressing gold to page, repeatedly turning and smoothing and dipping and scraping, each small act a hymn without words. And you are there, safe and warm. The world is quiet.